Now I'm not going to stand here all afternoon and bore you with stale old jokes. That's the best man's joke. So without much further ado, I'd like to hand over to Steve.
Wait, Steve, make it quick!
And he with the cheap things. Right, thank you very much, Mark. I hope you've heard the most of your speech. As now the formalities are almost over, you'll never get to talk uninterrupted for 10 minutes ever again. And thank you to Harry for showing me what a well-prepared speech should sound like. And may I take this opportunity before I start to let everybody know that I'll be giving my speech today under a handicap. I haven't had a drink yet. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steve, and I've known Mark since I was 6. Being the brazen little child he was, he knocked on my door the very first day I moved in across the street and asked my parents, "Have you got any kids? I'm bored." From that moment on, we were best friends. I think we must have been around about 10 years old in Mark's Grand's kitchen. Hi Hazel, it's good to see you here. When we first mentioned being each other's best men. And since that day, I've been both excited and absolutely nervous and terrified at this moment having to stand up and give the most important speech of my life. I've never been best man before, and after this speech, will most likely never be asked again. So to look at the guidelines for this speech, just like Mark, being in IT, I trawled the internet for inspiration. I came across hundreds of interesting pictures and stories which kept me entertained for hours. And then I remembered that I was looking for wedding material. I eventually realised it was better to do it the old-fashioned way, and so I bought a book. And the first guideline about speeches in the book read, "Know your audience. Do not tell obscene stories which will offend the more senior guests at a wedding, and do not use vulgar language which may get picked up by the younger ones." Well, I've known Hazel for a long time. I can imagine she's been involved in a lot more obscene stories than Mark has. And being brought up by Danny and Kelly, I'm assuming that Ollie knows a lot more swear words than Hazel. But keeping this in mind, I've binged a lot of Mark's dark secrets, and I've put this speech from around about 5 hours down to 10 minutes. And I've assured Becky that in the unlikely event that I have left a sexual innuendo away, I'll whip it out immediately. Before I begin the traditional roast and toast of the group, I'd like to thank the important people who are here today who've helped the day go very smoothly. Firstly, I'd like to thank Danny, the usher, for arriving sober, and his beautiful daughter Ollie, who was an expert flower girl. And of course, I would like to spank the bride. I would like to thank the bride with it. Becca, Laura and Becky for performing their duties perfectly and dragging the bride, kicking and screaming out of her hotel room this morning without messing up her hair. I would like to give special congratulations to Miss Rebecca Wright, down the front here, who no longer has to be referred to as the other Becky Wright. Mark and Harry have covered this much better than I can, but I would like to mention once again how beautiful Becky looks. Everything's been perfect. The church service is beautiful, views around the grounds are spectacular, and I hope, hopefully Mark hasn't prepared the food. In fact, the only thing which could have been improved today is the bride's taste in men. Saying that, however, Mark does scrub up quite nicely himself, although I'm slightly annoyed that he's decided to copy my outfit. I'd also like to say a quick thank you to the lads who played a massive part in Mark's stag do. An absolutely legendary weekend it was. Thanks to Chris and Paul for being the absolute sensible ones on the weekend. Thank you to Stephen Dixon, who went easy on alcohol consumption and didn't kill us all. Good work to Richard for destroying a rage buggy and shooting Ross in the head. And special thank goes out to Ross, who actually ate a spider.
Ate a spider.
Finally, a quick thank you to my better half Cheryl, whose support today means a lot to me, and more than she probably realises. Right, back to making Mark squirm. Yeah. Over the 24 years that I've known Mark, we've always been very close. He's a fantastic friend, and we've always done everything together. This is the reason why finding stories to tell today was so difficult, because each and every one of them also incriminates myself. Mark is, however, 3 months older, so all of the stories that I tell, I want you to realise that he was the ringleader. like the time when we were around about 8 years old, and Mark decided to start football. We visited every shop in Ferry Hill Village asking for sponsorship money for a new strip. We must have raised around about 50 quid by the time Mark's uncle gave us the All Youth Club's kit for free, and therefore Mark then spent the money on Haribo. Around about 8 years later, Christine, Mark's mother, found out about this and gave us both a good ear bashing for committing fraud. Personally, having a criminal mind at the age of 8, I think he's a genius. I haven't paid it back yet either, Christine.
Right.
Just to let you know that. Mark's always been a very intelligent lad, apart from the time he decided to get some illegal documents fucking at school. He had what was known as a cookbook on how to make explosives using substances he was finding under your kitchen sink. And he would have got away with it as well if it wasn't for the school secretary.
Why did you read the recipes?
He asked our chemistry teacher how to pronounce the ingredients. At the age of 15 years old, you'd have thought Mark would have had more sense, but we both ended up with a CID out front door. I think we've been rather clandestine about that, and I'm not sure that we actually knew that. No, wait. Mark's grown up since then. He's obviously kidnapped Becky and made her his beautiful wife. Mark and Becky have also recently moved house, and I would like to congratulate you both on. So that's moving house and getting married. All that's missing is for Becky to be pregnant and he's got himself a BT advert. Being Mark's best friend, I get to find out all the juicy gossip which goes on behind closed doors. So I'd like to tell you about Mark and Becky tonight and the first night in their new home. Mark had been working away when they moved. So the first thing that they did when Mark got home was build their bed in their bedroom. He's now their bedroom. You know where I'm going, he's a bit of a smooth mover. So Mark gets undressed and he takes off his bra. It's a fantasy. Mark takes his trousers and he passes it to Becky. She says, "Hey love, put these on." So Becky pulls Mark's trousers up. They weren't married yet, so she obeyed what he said. She tied the belt around her chest. And she just looked at him puzzled. And he said, "Take no offence, that'll be the last time you wear the trousers in this house." So then Becky takes off the trousers and the knickers. You might want to close the keys for this, Harry. And she passes the knickers over to Mark. "Go on then, Mark, you wear these." So Mark thinks he's in for a good night. Mark scribbles into the knickers. And I haven't put a lot of thought into this, but a pair of Becky's pants on Mark is probably not going to leave a lot to the imagination. So Mark stood there with tears in his eyes, and he's getting slightly excited by this point. And he asks Becky, "What do you want me to do now?" Becky says, "I want you to change your attitude, otherwise that'll be the last time you get into those." On a serious note, it's an honour and a privilege standing here as Mark's best man. Mark is the best man I know, the best friend that I have, and I know it's going to embarrass him greatly by telling you all that I love him very much. And I know he'll do everything in his power to make both his and Becky's lives together as perfect as possible. There was a time in Mark's life when he said he'd never get married, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart when I say I'm very thankful that he's met Becky and that you've changed his mind. I'm not crying because it's a wedding. It's a funeral. It's a funeral to a good man. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to stand and raise your glasses high, I'd like to propose a toast for you. May their lives together bring them everything they wish for, and may they keep their ups and downs to the bedroom. Mrs. Stephenson!